Hey guys, today I'll show you how to get started with using Twixtor plugin in After Effects. So welcome back to the channel. Today we will be going through two things. So the first thing is how you can get the correct FPS for Twixtor so that you get the best possible looking result. And the second thing is how you can choose your anime scenes so that they work with Twixtor. Also, this guide is mainly for anime scenes, so if you want to use Twixtor for game recording, let me know in the comment and I'll make another video in the future. So let's jump into After Effects. And here I have a clip selected. What you want to do first is to pre-compose it, and you can choose move all attributes into the new composition. Then you can also check adjust composition duration so that the new comp will be the same duration as the selected footage. Then what you usually do is that you apply Twixtor plugin on the new comp. And then when you play back, you will see these strange pauses. And that is due to the nature of anime film. So if we go back to the project panel and check on the original clip, you can see that it's encoded at 23.976 FPS. And usually that is the value you would put for the input frame rate. But for anime film, it works in a different way. So let's first disable the Twixtor plugin and see what's going on here. So if I just go through the timeline, you can see that the first frame and the second frame and even the third frame, even though I'm changing the frame, the image stays still. And that is usually how anime films are produced. They use the same frame for multiple frames. So in this case, as you can see, the first 3 frames are exactly the same. And it is until the 4th frame you get a new image. So if we continue to scroll through the timeline, we can see that a new frame appears every 3rd frame, which means that the true frame rate here is 23.976 divided by 3. And then you get 7.992, and some people just round it up to 8. So you should always check your selected footage. And if you get a new frame every 2nd frame, or if you get a new frame every 3rd frame, or if you get a new frame every 4th frame, then you should use 23.976 divided by 2 or 3 or 4 in that case. And that's why in some tutorials you will see people using 6, 8 or 12 as the input FPS, but they never told you why they used that number, and that is probably one of the reasons why when you copy their settings, it doesn't work for your project because your anime scene had a different true frame rate. Now when you have entered your new input FPS and without changing any other values, you can do a playback and you should be able to see that your footage is significantly smoother. And that is how you check if your FPS was correctly calculated or not. Now that we have got the most important setting out of the way, we can proceed to the next step, which is to choose your footage. And here I will just give a few examples, a few general ideas on what kind of footage usually don't work well with Twixtor. So in this first example here, you can see there are foreground elements, and Twixtor is going to have a hard time distinguish between the subject and what's in the background and what's in the foreground. So this kind of clip you really want to avoid. The second example is that you have different elements moving with different true frame rate. So in this case, our main subject here is moving every second frame, but the grass around her is moving every third frame. So in the case of different elements moving with different frame rate, that's also what you want to avoid. And then in general, you want to avoid fight scenes and scenes where objects appearing and disappearing. So that can, for example, be eye opening, where the iris appears out of nowhere. So these kind of scenes you would definitely want to avoid. And finally, I will just go through a few settings in Twixtor. So in this example, I have already set up the correct input FPS, and I slow down the speed down to 50%. And as you can see, there's some warping here. So let's try out some of these settings. So first we check the frame interpretation, and we can try the motion weighted blend. And it doesn't appear to do anything at all. And if we check the smart blend, and it doesn't appear to be doing anything either. And finally we can try the image prep, and we choose the option contrast, edge enhance, and now we actually see something change. However, the warping still exists. So the takeaway here is that you should always calculate the correct input frame rate first, and then without touching any other values, you should review your footage carefully to see if there's any warping. And if you see some pretty bad artifacts, then changing other values is probably not going to solve the problem. You can of course try them out, or rather spend the time to just find a better clip. So does that mean if your clip warps, then you cannot use the footage at all? Well, the answer is yes, you still can if you plan to use a small part of it and do a super slow motion. So for example, in this clip, you can see that her hair is warping badly. But in this frame, there's no problem. So you can select the part where the artifacts has not yet appeared, or the part where the artifacts has disappeared. And here I'm just showing you some results where I chose some footage and applied the correct input FPS, and you can see how smooth they are, and that's without touching any other settings beside the speed percentage. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one.